Breaking news here from the NFL Combine as Tyron Smith is not expected to return to the Dallas Cowboys for the 2024 NFL season. He is set to be a free agent, and it sounds like he is going to end up signing elsewhere. As Ian Rappaport breaking this news moments ago here, he's also in Indy up at Lucas Oil. We're not that far away from where the player interviews are. Saying that Tyron Smith will be a free agent and is unlikely to return to Dallas. Sources say the blindside protector since 2011, Smith will be highly coveted. Why do I feel like he's going to end up being a Chief and get to try to win a ring with Patrick Mahomes? We'll spend a lot of time on this and some replacements, but give me your one-word reaction to Tyron Smith being set to leave the Cowboys organization. Sound off for me in the comment section because, where else would you sound off right now? So Smith, again, unlikely to return. Jerry Jones, we'll get to his quotes in a little bit later, had said that, hey, we're going to work something out with Tyron last night. Guess not in the end on that front there. Smith should have good interest in NFL free agency. He was really good in 2023 when he was healthy. I think the health and the injury concerns, I think all that stuff maybe was a bit more troubling for Dallas in terms of the guaranteed money. I think it will end up being an NFL free agency. Look how much Teron Armstead got a few years ago, despite being as injured as Tyron Smith is. Now, Smith's older than Armstead was. I think there will be a pretty good market for him. Look, my one-word reaction here is huge. A, Tyron's a huge person. B, you've got a huge hole at left tackle right now. We'll talk about Tyler Smith. We'll talk about all these draft prospects the Cowboys have interest in, what their plans are with Tyler, what their plans are with Tyron, et cetera, or to replace Tyron as well. But this is a big loss for you. When Tyron was out there, he was awesome. He's a future Hall of Fame left tackle. He was an all-pro caliber player this season, despite missing a couple of games. I think to a certain extent he got a little bit lucky with the time missed, but you also kind of feel like maybe you figured something out on that front. He took the pay cut last year, didn't want to take one this year after an all-pro season. I get that for him. I do. And now you have to have an actual plan to replace him. You haven't had that in over a decade. Now you have to figure that one out. So are you upset that Tyron Smith is leaving the Dallas Cowboys in free agency, or at least set to leave? Clearly it means the two sides don't work out a deal. So unless there's no interest at all, which I think Tyron knows what the interest is going to be. There's tampering over here. It's fine. He's not going to come back. Why for yes and for no are you upset? I myself am disappointed at the moment. He was still really freaking good when healthy. He was still, at times, one of, if not your best offensive linemen when he was healthy. And now you've got some uncertainty along the offensive line. Tyron Smith's numbers last year, again, all per Pro Football Focus, didn't get beat very much in pass protection. He was still really good in that area. Got beat a few times in the playoffs. That was a little bit disappointing to a certain extent. The run blocking wasn't as good. I think some schematic things he had problems with on that front. In the end, I think the biggest issues here, I think the age and the injuries were a factor, which are kind of all tied in together here. I don't think, and we'll spend some more time on this from what we've gathered here on the ground in Indy, I don't know if the Cowboys wanted to commit big guaranteed money to Tyron Smith. And I do understand that. I do. I get that angle. And you can spin yourself into, hey, this is going to be a move in which we are able to fully replace Tyron and not kind of do a half measure of keeping him and having a backup plan that's not good enough for when he goes down. And you're now going to begin that full-fledged adjustments and rebuild on the left side of your offensive line. More on that here in a little bit, and replacements for Tyron Smith as well, for agency draft internal options. But today's show is made possible by Game Time. We're going to worry now about the offensive line again for the Cowboys, but you shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time has you covered. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, etc. events near you. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Maybe you saw the viral photo of that one guy sitting behind a wall at a college football game. Not an issue with Game Time. You will know exactly what your view is. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create your account and redeem code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, all guaranteed. I will say on this note, this news today is not what Jerry Jones had said last night on the bus. We were going to spend some time on the bus stuff there, but this is not what had been said. Here's what Jerry said on the bus last night in his word saladness of really not saying a ton of noteworthy things from that perspective. We'll get there in the right way and discuss his business and work out something that's good for both of us. He's had a great career. He's a Hall of Fame player. I can't tell you how good a shape I thought we were in with him as we got in the playoffs and his health and where he was. Thought we were just where you want to be, and I gave a lot of credit to Coach McCarthy. Him getting it pushed up there to where we had him just right as we went into the playoffs. That is very different than the news today of, it's just not going to happen. So why? I think in the end, this came down to money. And as I'm sitting here looking a minute ago, Michael Gelkin tweeting out something very similar, the two sides were not close on the money. And I think in particular, the guarantee money. I would, as a gambling man, I would bet a good amount of my money. The Cowboys wanted more of an incentive-based deal with limited guaranteed money, tied into how much he plays, didn't want to pay him big left tackle money in a market that doesn't have many good left tackles, even old ones. I think Tyron Smith's going to be able to get that in free agency. As I'm looking at Gelkin's tweet right now, drastically apart is the words that he used on that front. I think there's a pretty big gap. And if Tyron's market isn't actually good, okay, maybe they could revisit that down the road. But I think because Tyron Smith, for the first time in a very long time, didn't miss the same number of games that he has missed in years past, I think his market's going to be pretty strong. He missed 4 games this year. That's his fewest since 2019. After missing 13, 6, and 14 in some previous seasons, Smith stayed healthy. He's not going to practice much. That's a very big deal. But teams need starting caliber offensive linemen. It is tough to find them. Somebody, maybe we end up being surprised how much money Tyron Smith ends up getting on the open market. But I think someone's going to pay him some pretty good figures. We will have more Cowboys coverage for you. Plan is to do a full recap of the Cowboys Combine meetings. We'll, I think between mostly Nick Harris and me helping a little bit, since Harris had boots on the ground too for the .com, 35-ish of the 45 the Cowboys went to, so we got almost all of them in the end. And we'll have you guys covered on Tyron Smith, free agency, etc. Hit that sub button right now. Let's move then to replacements. We will come back to Tyler Smith. But let's say that's one spot on the left side of the offensive line. Also making note that probably got Zach Martin for a year or two. And maybe you want TJ Bass to stay at right guard and be the replacement on that front. Your options then on the left side are Awesome Richards, who didn't play at all. Brock Hoffman, who might need to have some center work, depending on what you do with Tyler Biadasz. Josh Ball is a bad person. Matt Willetsko. Funny, I've actually heard Josh Ball is very nice people in the organization, but too little too late there, buddy. Willetsko has been unable to stay healthy. You need a starting option on the left side of your offensive line this cycle, this free agency, this draft. So let's look at some of the names then, both tackles and guards, because we'll talk about Tyler Smith here too. Kevin Dotson's a free agent. He's a guard. He's going to be expensive. Jonah Williams, who played right tackle for the Bengals last year, left tackle previously, he's probably going to get like $16 million a year. Do we want to pay that? Do you want to pay that? Or do the Cowboys want to pay that? No. Trenton Brown could be a cheaper option, but he's also missed time in recent years. That's your issue here, right? Michael Onwenu, I think, is probably maybe more of a right tackle guard option, but he's fun. Robert Hunt, kind of like Dotson, might be one of the top free agent guards. Do you want to give him $13+ million? A lot of money. I don't know if you want to. Jonah Jackson, Damian Lewis are cheaper options. Josh Jones stands in there. If you want to gamble on like Hy Becton, you want to try to go like Jermaine Loomis, probably more of a right tackle. You're going to try to find a swing, and maybe your plan is to bank on, Willetsko or Richards emerging as your swing tackle. Because, again, that was the downside of Tyron. The ideal outcome was, cheaper incentive-based deal. If you couldn't get him for the cheap incentive-based deal I think the Cowboys wanted to do, got to find something else. That's why, in the end, I think draft makes a lot of sense here. Some players. Fuaga at Oregon State, who I think had a formal. He wasn't really certain when talking with him at the Combine. He's not on this list. I think he's going to be gone. J.C. Latham, who I think, again, more of a right tackle, had a formal with the Cowboys. Amarius Mims, I don't know if he's going to be there, but God, that'd be a fun pairing with him and Tyler Smith. He had a former. Tyler Guyton had a formal. Patrick Paul would have been a great, round 2 developmental piece. Kingsley Matia out of BYU. Don't think there was a formal there. He's kind of scary to me. The Yale prospect, Karan Mugaji, kind of developmental guy. Jordan Morgan's arm length stunk, but he'd be a good option just to plug in at either left tackle or left guard. Same with Troy Fontenot. He had a formal meeting. Thought Graham Barton could be a center option, but maybe you try him at left guard if you have a centerpiece in there. I think maybe that Morgan, Fontenot, Barton, Mims, Guyton. I think one of those guys is there for you. That's your pick in round 1. Wouldn't be a bad one. This team does draft linemen pretty well. You could also draft a guard or sign a guard and put Tyler Smith on the left side at tackle. I will make note, I don't know if that's what the Cowboys are going to want to do. Now, maybe you don't make that decision until after the draft, and if all those tackles are gone, you take a guard. Maybe that's, Fontenot, or I think Morgan could play guard too. It would help mitigate some of those arm length concerns. And then you put Tyler on the left side. He's going to be one of your starters. I would also argue, by a pretty good margin, easier position to play in terms of pass protection. He was better at left guard than he was at left tackle. So you'll make a decision this year on Tyler Smith. Keep him there. And then I think you have to figure out that other spot, because I liked what I saw from TJ Bass. Hoffman can play center. Maybe he's your back. Maybe he's your 6th offensive lineman next year. Bass is maybe your 7th or 8th, because I think you might need Bass at right guard at some point, because Zach Martin got a bit banged up last year, and at some point you got to replace right guard too. And maybe you don't fully trust Bass as a starter. That could be an option as well if the board doesn't fall your way, but they will be looking at tackle early in this year's draft. Who do you want as the next left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. Maybe it's Tyler Smith. Maybe it's a draft pick. Drop that name for me right now. One more thought before we go. The worst part of this, Cowboys wasted Tyron Smith's career, as they have done with so many different players over the past 28 years. No results. Got a Hall of Fame player. Didn't get anything out of it. Didn't make it to a conference championship game. Kind of sucks. He's a Hall of Famer with no ring yet. I just wonder if he ends up with the Chiefs. Sure would make some sense, but kind of an end of an era for Tyron Smith in the Dallas Cowboys.